Explore your thoughts. Learn what you think you already know. We're taking you on a journey to the other side. Welcome everyone again to another edition of The Other Side. If you've been following all of my podcasts recently, I've been interviewing all of the police jury district candidates running for their districts and releasing all of the videos once everyone in that race has been interviewed. Well, today we're extending the election coverage by interviewing another sheriff candidate. You've probably already watched Sean Mayuse, and now we're moving on to Todd Gaspard. Mr. Todd Gaspard, I thank you for coming on the program. It's a pleasure having you on. I think it's very important for you to come on and give your thoughts and views and just relay it in an unbiased platform. Just give your message out to the voters. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. Anytime we can get out and speak to the people and let them know what's on our mind, what I plan, what I'm thinking of, it's definitely a welcomed event.
Right. I was interviewing one of my guests prior, and I mentioned on another podcast that he said, I really enjoyed this. He was thanking me so much. He was an incumbent. He was saying that, we don't get this opportunity to, you speak to a lot of voters, but you don't have 20, 30, 40 minutes, however long this podcast goes. There's no time restraints.
Correct.
It's about my guests getting their message out. But he was saying, I really enjoyed it because I don't get a chance to explain things the way I want to explain. It's just everybody talks kind of about the same thing. Like in your race, everyone would probably say, yeah, we want to reduce crime, we want to do this and that. But in a sit-down interview, you get to explain how you want to do it and everything. So without further ado, Mr. Todd, tell us about yourself. Who is Todd? Give us a little background about your qualifications.
I was raised in Goudeau, Louisiana, which is in Avoyelles parish, right near the St. Landry parish line. I went to school at St. Joseph's in Clocherville. And when I graduated from high school, I went into I left home. I left Avoyelles parish, went to the military, stayed there for a while, got out and started with state police in 1992. I was hired in Baton Rouge. The first 3 years I was there. Right when I got out of the military, I was married to my wife, Angie. She's from Spring Bayou in Marksville. And after living in Point Capee for 3 years, I wanted to come home. Avoyelles Parish was my home. I wanted to be here. I had a job that enabled me to do that. She's a nurse. She could get a job anywhere she wanted to. So we decided to come home. I worked out of Troop E until 2004, I believe it was, when I went into the Louisiana State Police Bureau of Investigations. And I went to the Criminal Intelligence Unit, which afforded me an opportunity to work on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, the U.S. Marshals Violent Offender Task Force, or better known sometimes as the Jump Out Boys. Worked with them for quite some time, had a great time doing it, and I did that for almost 9 years. I got a lot of good experience, and I know how to, it was mainly in working just a little bit of everything. But one of the most valuable lessons I learned was how the narcotics game works, and how do we catch narcotics dealers. That is something I know how to do. I'm the only candidate in this race that has experience in that world of working in plain clothes and working in narcotics. After in 2012, I decided to come back to the road and come back to Avoyelles Parish, and I stayed there until I retired in 2018. I thought retirement would be a great thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not happy in retirement. I need to be back at work. I've been a public servant since I'm 17, and I'm just not done yet. It's time to go back to work.
So from 2018 until now, have you been solely retired, or have you been?
I tried a few things. I remodeled the house that I'm living in now. I had it remodeled. I did some of the work. I did a little bit of time as a private investigator. I didn't care for that work at all. I need to be back. I need to be back amongst the people and helping people out every day. That's where I need to be. That's what I know how to do.
So you're coming out of retirement, basically, you can say, to run. So why are you running? What brings you out of retirement that you feel is important enough why you should be running?
For one thing, I've always said from the very beginning of my law enforcement career, which actually started in the military, if the timing and conditions were right, when I was retired one day from state police, I would run for sheriff. I think the time and conditions are perfect right now. It's, I think crime is at an all-time high. The crime rate is at an all-time high right now in Avoyelles Parish. We see more people going missing or dying than I think we've ever seen before. Drugs are pretty much everywhere. Everywhere I've gone on this campaign trail, someone tells me about a drug house in their neighborhood. It doesn't matter where I go in this parish, someone has a story about drugs being sold out of a house very near to theirs. It's it's at an all-time high right now, and I think something needs to be done about it. I keep getting told by people that they have a drug house near them, and they were told nothing could be done about it. Well, I'm here to tell you something can be done about that. We can do something with that. It takes old-fashioned police work. That's what it takes, and we can get those things done.
You know, I'm in business for myself. I own an alarm company and everything, so I talk to a lot of people. You know, when there's a crime spree and this and that, my phone starts ringing off the hook. I was just today, a customer was telling me that the reason they were installing the camera system at their house was shady vehicles passing that you don't normally see, go for a few minutes and leave. They're not visiting. You talked about these drug houses everywhere. It seems they're all over the place, the drug houses. Everybody has a story about that, about these drug houses. So that would be conditions that you say. You says time and conditions, correct? So what made the timing right?
Timing is right because right now it just doesn't seem like it's being done. I don't see where any narcotics cases are being made or there's any narcotics investigations going on. Obviously, I would not be privy to an active investigation. I'm just a civilian again, which that's fine. But I wouldn't be privy to an active investigation anyway. However, I would ask the public, when is the last time you saw a major drug bust in this parish? I would ask the public because it's been quite some time since I've seen one. And I think that's one of the reasons that I think the conditions are right. Right now, after talking to the people are ready for change. They are ready for a change. They're ready for something different. And I'm going to bring something different. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got all the time in the world. So what are your thoughts on the current incumbent, David Dauzat? He'll be coming on here in the near future. So you mentioned not more police patrol, but you said you're not seeing enough, I guess, drug bust and things like that. So what are your overall thoughts on, I guess, the way things are handled? We're not trying to sling mud at anybody here on this
Absolutely
podcast,
not.
but we do want to know inside of the candidate that's running, just your thoughts on that.
And you spoke of patrols. I'm not happy with the number of patrols that I see, and everywhere I go in this parish, they're not happy with the number of patrols they see. Most people tell me the only time they see a patrolman pass is if they live on that road when they go to work and they go home. I can say that's pretty much true where I live. And I don't have anyone living by me anymore, so I don't even see that anymore. As far as the sheriff, I'll say this. I've been knowing David since he started.
So y'all work together at True P because y'all both come from True P.
He started after I did. Well, after I did. I was one of his training officers.
Okay.
This is not personal. I have nothing personally against the sheriff. Okay? Not at all. This is not a personal thing. This is, I see a need for something. I think I can fulfill that need for the people of this parish, and I'm offering my services to the people of this parish. It's not personal against the sheriff right now. He and I talk. We still do talk. We talk about things concerning this election. If I need something, we communicate with each other. Matter of fact, somebody was with me the other day and I was talking to him on the phone and they were like, was that actually the sheriff you were talking to? I said, yeah, why? So, well, y'all were so civil with each other. There's no reason not to be. And the fact is this, as a sheriff, I'll help anyone. I'm not mad at David or his family or anyone. If David Dauzat ever needs me and I'm sheriff, I'll help him out any way I can.
And that, nowadays the current political climate, it's you're either on this side. It's so polarized. You either have to take a side on something. I wish there was more, less mudslinging and more just coming together, which is a big purpose of this podcast. That way we can get the sides of everyone and let the voters decide. And I like how you said it's nothing personal. So it'd be safe to say you're running for the parish and not necessarily against an individual.
I'm not running against anyone. David Dauzat just happens to be my opponent.
Right.
But I'm not running against him. I'm not running anything. I'm running to offer my services to the parish. I'm not David Dauzat. I'm not Doug Anderson. I'm not Posh DDA. I'm not Bill Belt. I'm Todd Gaspard. I'm different. I have my own brand and my own way of doing business, and that's what I'm offering to the public.
Well, so what could you do better? You mentioned there's not enough patrols, and and of course your experience with narcotics and everything. So what are your plans? I guess, do you have a platform, a couple of things you can highlight? Say, I want to do this, this, and this a little bit better or more efficient.
Yes, sir. For one, I think we have more detectives right now than we do patrolmen. Okay. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to be moved forever into patrol, but for right now, we have to beef up our patrol. If that means moving some of those detectives into a uniform, well, then that's what it has to be, because patrol is going to be the backbone of any law enforcement organization. Patrol is what prevents crime. Criminals see patrolmen passing by, they're less likely to commit a crime. Criminals are cowards, okay? They're cowards. They're not going to want to commit a crime where they might get caught, okay? Which will bring me into something else about drugs.
Yeah.
So we need more patrolmen on the road. That's something we definitely need. Narcotics. We have to stand up our narcotics unit again. We have to get a narcotics unit and start enforcing the drug laws again. We're going to have to start off small. Now, we're never going to get rid of all the drug dealers in Avoyelles Parish. That's just not going to happen because there's too much money to be made. It's a very lucrative business, okay?
Yeah, it is.
However, we have to make it hard for them to do business here. I don't want to just arrest you if you're selling drugs. I want to arrest you. I want to take everything I can from you. I want to take your car, your house, your money, your drugs, everything we can take. If I can tie it to your illegal drug trade, we're going to take it away from you. And that'll make others think twice about doing business in Avoyelles Parish, because I'm not going to allow them to do business in Avoyelles Parish, and I'm going to make it as hard as I can for them to do it.
So you're going to create a climate not favorable for the drug industry.
Absolutely.
Well, that'll bring me to this next question. I'm sure you've been asked before. So that all sounds great, new patrolman and everything. It's the money. Where do we get the money for new patrolmen?
The money's there. The money's there right now. The fact is that the previous administration probably had twice the employees of this administration, and they had even less money than we do now. Right now, tax collections are at an all-time high. Think about this. Inflation is at an all-time high. We all know that because we feel it in the pocketbook.
Right.
Well, if the prices of goods goes up, then the taxes go up. So tax collection is at an all-time high right now. So we have, the money's there. The money is there to pay. Do we have a lot of money? No, we don't. Avoyelles Parish is not a rich parish. We all know that. But there's money for more deputies. There is money for more deputies. There's money there.
Right. Yeah. I've done a podcast before on that about, with inflation, and, a lot of people say, well, people haven't had a raise since whatever. Not necessarily in, sheriff's raise. This is but just to piggyback on what you were saying, the current tax rate's the same tax that it was, 20 years ago or whatever.
Right.
Well, percentage is a percentage, so 20 years ago, milk was $3 where you paid a percentage of that. Now it's $5, $6 where you're paying a percentage of that. So the tax revenue coincides with the inflation.
Absolutely. 10%, 10% of
It's 10% no
is
matter
10%.
what.
And 10% of $5 is always going to be better than 10% of $1.
Right.
So yes, the tax collection, that's just one source.
Yeah.
But it's at an all-time high.
So I hear candidates talk about federal grants and everything. This is I'm asking as a citizen because this is an area I don't know anything about. Or they're just the way they make it sound. You interview people and stuff from the police jury to I hear sheriff's candidates say the same thing and other politicians. Is there just this big vat of grants that the federal government is saying, hey, look, you just come apply and you're getting grants? Or how does that work?
There are grants out there for many things. I mean, you'd be shocked. And there's a lot of grants out there that there are not grants for certain things. We talked about pay. I heard one of my opponents say something about getting a grant to be able to pay more. That's impossible. You can't do that because you can't give a raise based on anything
grant's
other
a
than
one-time thing.
It's a one-time thing. If it's not recurring funds, then we surely can't use it for a raise.
Right.
But this is my belief on grants. Never buy anything with your money. If we can get a grant for it, that's somebody else's money.
Right.
Well, it's the taxpayers' money still, but it's not all. The burden is not all placed on Avoyelles Parish.
Right.
But we have to remember too. Let's just say the USDA is handing out law enforcement grants, and they have X number of dollars for these grants. You have to remember, every little police station across America is fighting for that money too.
They're all going to apply.
They're all fighting
Like
for
a
this
lottery
money
at that point.
Exactly. So, but there are some local things that we can apply for. There are local grants we can apply through Red River Delta. There are grants there. There's grants out there to get things done. Okay, if we need equipment, there are certain things, and some things they're not gonna. They may not give you. You may be able to get a grant for vehicles, but you can't get a grant for a building.
Yeah, you can't use it for that. You have to use it for what the grant was for.
Absolutely. But there may be a grant for a bulletproof vest or for weapons or this or new surveillance equipment or whatever.
Yeah.
Get whatever you can with somebody else's money. I believe in that. Only use our money for what we absolutely have to.
Right. So as far as the more patrolmen, that you're saying that's just, I guess, a better reappropriation of the funds that we currently have.
Correct.
To be able to add a couple of forces.
Correct. That's just personnel management and proper appropriation of funds.
Yeah. Todd, just recently, it was actually the day before I had interviewed Sean. If you already watched Sean's podcast, that was recorded a couple of weeks before. Everybody knows I don't release anything until everyone in that race is done. But a few things change over time. There was the incident of I think it was an active shooter or supposedly at the Marksville High School.
Yes, sir.
So do you have a plan, or will you have a plan in place? Because you're starting to see these things all over the nation. Is there some kind of task force, some kind of special training to deal with an active shooter? We all seen the horrific in Uvalde, Texas, that was mishandled tremendously.
Horrible.
Do you have some kind of plan in place to combat that for our little parish?
I do, and this is based on what I've learned in my career. Probably the last I don't even know how many years of my career. I would have to say that some of the training we got was some of the best training I'd ever received in my whole career. And a lot of it was about active shooters.
This was your time as a state trooper?
As a trooper, yes. Now, we can work with state police. They will still come and help us train. We've also got people here in Avoyelles Parish that work at the sheriff's office now that can train on active shooters training. But what I think is more important than that, and police officers, most departments, they train their people at least once, twice a year on active shooter scenarios, okay? Because the fact is this, we're not a big city like Los Angeles where we have a full-time SWAT team on call all time, ready to roll at a moment's notice. We have to call in state police SWAT team or maybe the Rapides Parish. We don't have our own SWAT team stood up. Therefore, In an active shooter situation, you have to have your deputies and everyone trained to where if you have one deputy pull up to a school or to a business, everybody thinks of schools, but this can happen anywhere.
Yeah, it can.
Okay. You pull up to the scene and you're by yourself. You hear shooting going on. You have no choice but to go into that building and to neutralize the threat, even if you're by yourself and you have no backup. So this isn't a situation where we can sit and wait for a SWAT team or anything like that. So training is very, very important as far as for our deputies. But I think it's something else that's important that's been overlooked. Let's do some training in the summertime when our teachers are off. Let's include the fire department. Let's include the emergency services. Let's include our teachers, where everyone knows exactly what their role is, not just the law enforcement role. The teachers know, hunker down, lock your doors, okay? They're going to go after the easy targets. A shooter's going to go after easy targets. He's not worried about going through a locked door. He's going to look for an unlocked door. But let's let everyone know what their roles are, okay? So work with the school, work with the school board, and let's get some training in place there. Now, the situation the other day, I think most schools have a plan. I think the plan was evacuate to the football field. You know, here's an issue that we face and I have no control over: social media. Mm-hmm. Kids have phones at school. No matter how hard you try, they're going to have phones at school. So the next thing you know, they're texting mom, they're texting dad, grandma, grandpa. And then you have a whole crowd of people there trying to pick up their kids. That wasn't part of the plan.
Right.
Okay. Let the school officials do their job. Let the police do their job. Now that also goes back to earning the trust of the public,
right,
that we're going to do our job and do our job correctly. I say clear the building, check the building the best you can. You know, it's never going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Put the kids back in school.
Right.
Running off to school and picking up every kid, if it happens early in the morning, why waste a school day?
And it seems if you do have an active shooter or a situation going on, you're adding more, I guess, potential victims by having everyone there and cluttering the system and let's say head counts. You know, if everyone's picking up their kids, and I don't know their system of releasing the kids to the parents, but it seemed like it would cause an issue of making sure everyone's accounted for, kind of like when you're offshore, let's say, or on a cruise boat even, they will have, everyone's got to be accounted for. There's a list, and of everyone who's there, they have a manifest, you know, and if everyone's getting picked up, I guess, too soon, that could cause a problem as well, it seems like. I guess, like you said, if you could just let the plan enact itself from the school.
Let the plan work. We set a plan in place, let it work. Another thing is, too, work with the school and everyone else and help them to pick people to be in charge of these situations, not necessarily because they're in charge of something every day. Pick people who can handle a crisis, because not everybody can handle crisis very well. Some people melt. It's okay. That's just their personality. Mm-hmm. Okay, everyone's different. I know in my family, personally, when things get into crisis mode, I'm the one who takes charge and I'm the one who handles it, because I can do that and set my emotions aside. You have to be able to set your emotions aside and handle the crisis first. Cry later.
That's right.
Cry later, but handle the job first and protect the children and the people in your charge.
Right. You can talk to any ER nurse and they'll tell you that as well. You got to just take care of the situation first, no matter how bad it is.
You can break down later.
That's right. So how about the, also recently we had, I think it was 7 women escape from the women's jail. Every so often, maybe once a year, maybe not that often, I don't want to over-escalate something, but it seems like every year we do have an escapee, either from DC-1 or DC-3. Is there any measures that we could take to, I guess, better secure that, lock it down a little bit better? You have any plans for that?
Absolutely. We need more people working the jail, for one. Okay. Number 2, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I have a professional He's retired from the state prison system. He's a retired lieutenant colonel. He's a young man, and he knows how to run a prison system. He's going to run my prison system, okay? Because he knows that world. We're going to put policies in place to prevent such things. It is my understanding. I have heard that these women actually had a key to the door that they escaped from. That's unacceptable. I don't know if you've ever worked in corrections. I never have.
No, I never have.
I never have either. But I have common sense, and I do know this. Every key must be accounted for at all times.
Yeah.
At any given time, I should be able to walk into my jail as a sheriff and say, "Where's your keys?" And they should be able to show them to me or tell me who has them at any given time. And that's done with a simple key log. Those things should be taken care of. Those policies have to be put in place, and they have to be adhered to. You have to adhere to the policies you have. Yes, we can. Are you going to always... Can someone escape? Yes. Think about it. They escape from Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, right?
Okay? So if they escape from Alcatraz, they can escape from DC 1 or 3. But the fact is, I think we can slow it down. I think we can slow it down a lot. Another thing is, when they do escape, and there will be escapes, I'm not here to tell you that when I'm sheriff, no one's going to escape. That's a lie. That's going to happen. But what I will do is this. We will have something in place where as soon as possible, we can let the public know there is an escape. We can let the public know who has escaped. Put pictures out there so the people know what they're facing. Let them know what the charges are. Where are these people from? You know, if you escape from Cottonport and you're from Houma, well, I think it's pretty safe to say, and you live in Centerpoint, they're not going to be passing by your house.
Right.
Okay? So let the people know where they're from, what they've been charged with, their pictures, their names. Let them know that as soon as possible. This needs to be put out on the news as soon as possible, or some kind of notification system within the parish, which I'm already working on, that'll be available to the public.
All right, Todd, let's jump gears a little bit. You mentioned you had someone that'd be in charge of the corrections. So let's talk about your cabinet members. Who are you going to appoint? Do you have, or are you able to divulge that information, like your chief deputy, and do you have anyone picked out yet?
I can divulge who my chief deputy is right now, and that is Renee Roy. I don't know if Renee is she's an attorney, and she's been a prosecutor for the last 30 years. She's looking at retiring at the end of the year, and she is very excited, just as am I, to take office and come work with me as my chief deputy. She's helped a lot of people in her career. She's prosecuted a lot of bad people. She's very tough, but she's very fair, and she's a very nice person, and I think people will get along with her just great.
You have anyone else you would care to tell about, the financial officer?
I can tell you some. Name them off, and I'll tell you if I have them or I don't have them.
Chief financial officer.
Chief financial officer right now, Melanie Martinez is the chief financial officer. I have no intentions of moving her anywhere. She's going to stay right where she's at.
Your director of corrections.
Director of corrections, I'm not really prepared to release that name, but he is retired from Raymond Labourd.
Chief civil deputy. I'm going off of a list that.
Okay, hold on. Let me see real quick. What was the first one you read? Asked me about. No, CFO is not Melanie. That's going to be right now. I think it's Catherine Ducote right now.
Okay.
And I have no intentions of getting rid of her right now. She's safe with me right now. I mean.
All right.
And Melanie Martinez is the chief civil deputy. She's going to stay right where she's at.
How about your investigations unit?
I've not decided on that yet. There's a couple people I have in mind that I like, but I have not made a decision on that, and we'll see who wants to put in for that job.
Okay. How about your patrol unit?
Patrol unit right now, Captain Reggie Sanders is the patrol captain. He's been there. I want to say Sheriff Dauzat was the one that promoted him to captain, and I've been knowing him for a very long time. We've worked together on the same shift, and I have absolutely no intentions of moving Captain Sanders anywhere. He's going to stay right where he's at, and he's going to do a very good job for me.
How about the other employees there? Will they all have the opportunity to stay if Sheriff Todd Gaspard comes around?
99% will. There are a few, of course. And to be honest with you, I mean, I'll offer a job to anyone. You know, departments, the needs of the department will come first.
Right.
Okay. You may want to be in one section, but I may need you in another. Of course, you know, the upper level administration of this current administration, they're not going to stay. They're going to leave. So I don't have to say fire them because they're going to leave on their own.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And I have
when a new administration comes in.
I have my own people. None of the people that I want to bring in are from previous administrations. I have my own ideas. I know what I want to do. I have my way of wanting to do things, or should I say, we have, because we discuss plans together as a team. Ultimately, though, it is my decision. You know, some people have turned this into a race of chief deputies. This is not a race about chief deputies. This is a race about sheriff. It's about me and Sheriff David Dauzat. That's who it's about. We are the candidates that are running, and I'm not mentioning the others because they don't possess what I'm seeking. Sheriff Dauzat is the only one who possesses what I'm seeking, and that's the office of sheriff. So he's the only one that has that. He's the one who I'm looking to.
Right, he's the incumbent, so the bullseye, that's the target.
But in the end, no, he's not saying the target, but that's who I associated with. In the end, this is not a race of chief deputies. This is a race of sheriff. Me, Sheriff Dauzat. Okay? No matter who my chief deputy would be, which it is, I promise you, it is Renee Roy. Okay? But it doesn't matter who it would be. It doesn't matter who any of these people are. The buck starts with me and it stops with me. Okay? I am the one that's going to be held accountable for whatever happens. And I accept that. I accept that responsibility.
So are you going to have an open door policy? I know as a sheriff, there's 40,000 people in this parish. You can't answer your phone call for every little thing, you know, that people, but how accessible will you put yourself to be able to speak to people? Of course, during the campaign trail, you know, you're speaking with everyone, and a lot of times you try to talk to a politician and they're kind of hard to get with them unless it's not election season, or you won't be retired anymore. You'll be having your hands full. So how willing are you to expose yourself to the public and deal with the problems day in and day out?
That is one of the main things that I've been running on is availability. I printed up 10,000 cards, 10,000 push cards with my qualifications on it. I put my phone number and my email address on every single one of those cards. I put my number in Alphonse in the journal. I've put my number on Facebook. I want to be available to the people. Now, we talk about open door policy. Absolutely, I will have an open door policy. Now, will I be at that office constantly? No, I will not. I like to be out and about amongst the people. Okay? It is not going to be uncommon to see me pop up somewhere in Barnolville, Simpsonport, DuPont, Bunkie, across the river. Never be surprised at where you may see me.
Stay active, and
I want to stay active. The deputies
boots on the ground.
Deputies should not be surprised if I show up at the sheriff's department at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, let's go ride. Or I show up and booking at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, how's everything going tonight? Don't be surprised at that. That's just who I am. That's how I do business.
Well, it's good to stay engaged with the public, and you get to see, like you said, the list of appointees or potential appointees that we just mentioned. they work for you, and in turn they work for us. Uh, but it's not like seeing it for yourself, you do the engaging and just not taking the information from people
Correct.
that work for you. Stay active,
And
stay
you know,
alive.
everyone talks about being available to the public, but it's also letting your employees know as well that they have their boss's support. Okay, they have my support, they have my backing, they have my leadership and my guidance available to them. So often employees are forgotten too. Okay, they're people, they're citizens of this parish, and they are voters too. Okay, we must not forget that. Yes, they work for us, but let me tell you, support of the boss, backing of the boss, and knowing that I have their back. I can tell you now, we talked about money earlier. Where do you find the money? That is worth probably more than money to your employees, to know that the boss has their back and to know that he supports them. And when they need guidance, that the boss will be there for them.
That's some good points, Todd. Now, I agree with that. It's good to have a good boss for someone who the employees can trust. Like you said, a lot of times employees are forgotten, and it can tend to make a bad workplace, a bad work environment. So we'll jump gears again a little bit. It seems that there's throughout all the races, whether it's police, jury, sheriff, there's like two big questions that just keep coming up. One we addressed earlier is the funding. Even the police juries, like you said, you can't come in here and say I'm fixing all the crime. That won't happen. Just like the police jury, they can't. No one can come say I'm fixing all the roads. You can only just try. So we already addressed funding. So another question is term limits. That's been popping up. What are your thoughts on term limits?
I've mixed emotions about it. I mean, I don't think anyone should be in office for too long of a period of time. I think in most cases, especially depending on the conditions that you take over an office, it may take more than 4 years. It may take more than 8 years for that person to get things moved along to a point where they're happy with it. But it's all ultimately, whether you have term limits or not. I'm not against term limits at all. Okay. But it's ultimately up to the voters. And if I welcome the voters, I'm asking the voters right here, right now, if I'm not doing my job, vote me out. Get me out of there. Let me know. Let me know I'm not doing my job. They're not going to have to do that because I know what I have to do. And I know we're going to do our job. But vote people out if they're not doing their job. I don't want to be sheriff for 25 years. I don't want to do that. 25 years from now, I'll probably be dead or in the nursing home. Okay. So I'm not looking to be sheriff for 25 years. I don't think any one person should be in power for too long, because you gain too much power and you owe too many favors. And I think that, the days of seeing people in office, or families in office, for 20, 30, 40, and some even
Generations.
50 years, I think those days are over with. I don't think you're going to see the big, long-term, powerful politicians that you used to see. I think those days are over with. I think the people will not let that happen, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
And that's a big part of why we started this podcast. Not because of pushing term limits or not pushing, but my point is what you said. Let the voters decide. This is just a voice to get information out. Everybody has different opinions, so I want your ideas, your opinions. I want everyone's running. That way the voters can decide.
Correct.
So we just see which angle you're coming from, which angle the next guy is coming from. We don't really have that like that in Avoyelles Parish to the connection like that, a sit down, no hard breaks, time restraints, or anything like that.
Correct.
So in closing, why should the voters vote for Todd Gaspard?
I'm going to tell you, this is why, because I'm not relying on this job to feed my family. I want this job because I want to make this place a better place, a better parish for us to live in. The parish, something similar to what I grew up in, okay? A better place for our children and our grandchildren. I want to be a sheriff. First of all, I don't want to be a politician. Someone told me the other day, you're the worst politician I've ever met. I say thank you. I don't want to be a politician at all, but I do want to be the very best sheriff that I can be. I'm here for the people. I'm here for the voters, the non-voters, the supporters, non-supporters. I'm going to represent. I'm looking for about 7,000 votes to win this election. I need that to win. I will represent 40-something thousand people. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you voted for me, you didn't vote for me. I will help you the same anyway. I'm here for the people. I will always put the people first. I will not put my election or my re-election anywhere in my decision-making process. I want to make decisions based on what's best for the people and the people alone. If I lose the next election because I did the right thing, then I'm okay with that. I can live with that. We're here for the people. I want to be a sheriff just here for the people.
I got one more question for you. What number are you on the ballot?
54.
54. Mr. Todd Gaspard, running for sheriff of Avoyelles Parish. I want to thank everyone for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can also get us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find the Other Side podcast with David Dauzat. But it is important to help spread the message and make it more visible. If you can hit the subscribe button in YouTube, if that's where you watch it from, you'll be notified every time that there is a new podcast. Please share it with your friend, because there's a lot of people that they share it, then they will reshare it, and it's really about getting the message out. It's not about getting the podcast popular, but it's really important, like a conversation that he and I just had, and so many others, is getting the message out to the voters so that everyone can stay informed and make an informed vote. I want to thank everyone for watching. This is Mr. Todd Gaspard, number 54 on the ballot, and this is another edition of The Other Side.
I wanna be like you.